Why do they never go in for me?
Hey music lovers, yes, I'm back again, and back again with another British Indian Me video. Now, for those of you who are actually following this series and watched some of the other videos, I got up to Grebo. I did my long-awaited video on Grebo, well, long-awaited by me because I've been meaning to do it for ages, which focused on the first wave of Grebo bands. Those were the bands. So Poppies itself, Crazy Head, Gay Bikers, and Setting Up Mind Walk, that I distinctly remember being called Grebo. Now, I finished off last time with this record, which is Box Frenzy by Poppies itself. This was kind of a transition record for Grebo. It was leaving behind the rock emphasis, well, the buzzcocky emphasis in the Poppies case, and going for a much more dancey, kind of more upbeat kind of groove to things, using sampling and hip hop and dance bits and pieces, and just taking it into a new realm. Now retrospectively, Grebo, if you look at Grebo now online, you don't get those four bands mentioned as being the main Grebo bands. What you get is the second wave of Grebo bands. Now, at the time, I distinctly remember Grebo wasn't applied to a lot of these bands. They were kind of considered, I remember them being called t-shirt bands. I think what else were they called? Techno rock, I think at one point that was bandied around. It was like there were bands that kind of used guitars in quite a poppy way, but they weren't the heavy rock. It was definitely more of an indie take on things. And I think what a lot of them shared was a kind of frenetic songwriting ethos. Really fast, lots of riffing, well, maybe not riffing, but really fast, more typically indie, definitely didn't have that rock edge to them. So Poppies were the link between the two series of bands. So I'm going to call this Grebo Second Wave because I can't think of anything else to call it. This is my made up term for it. So I think the first really big record of this second wave of Grebo, I don't actually have. Not an original copy. I do have this, which is the Poppies Very Metal Noise Pollution EP. And on here, they had, now I don't know if you can read that, if I turn it around that way. There we go. Can you see that? Yeah. So this was the big song, Defcon 1. Now this is a remixed version on here. Defcon 1 was, I think, a big link between those early Grebo bands and then what came to be known as Grebo. It was very dancey, catchphrases galore, Big Mac fries to go. Yeah, so I just remember that being played everywhere. I think it was one of about 3 records that some of my mates seemed to play all the time. That was on over and over again. Some mates of mine who I used to go around their house had Defcon 1 on 12-inch, and it got played over and over again. And it's a brilliant song, absolutely brilliant. So that's that. They also put out a couple more singles in advance of their This Is the Day album, with probably my favourite song by them. So this is Can You Dig It by, from the This Is the Day album. This song is still one of my favourite songs. One day I'm going to do my 100 favourite songs, one day. But this is basically a list song about all the kinds of stuff they liked, like Watchmen, Bruce Lee, Auf Wiedersehen, Pet, Alan Moore knows a score. We like the music, we like a disco song. Yeah, this is fantastic. So more dancey stuff. And also got a 10-inch of Wise Up Sucker, which is more of the same sort of stuff. More dancey mixes. Just 3 versions of Wise Up Sucker on this one. So yeah, so here Grebo kind of split into 2 distinct halves. You've got the dancey side, where they're mixing up rap, rock, hip hop, dance, all kinds of stuff, which can be seen in some other bands as well. And you've also got bands which took the old indie pop route and took it to kind of extremes and sped it up a lot. So I didn't get an awful lot of Poppies records after that. I don't know why. I still love them, but I just didn't buy that many. So I've got a couple of 12 inches I got here from their, which album was this? Looks of the Lifestyle, I think this is. Is it Looks of the Lifestyle? Yeah, Looks of the Lifestyle album, which I think was their 4th album, possibly. So we've got a couple of 12 inches. We've got Get the Kill the Baddies, and we've got Is Everybody Happy, which is an On You Sound System remix of one of their songs. Both great. They were, what I liked about Poppies was they definitely had a good sense of humour to them. I mean, a lot of their songs were daft. I mean, Cicciolina, which sampled an Italian porno star to become their unofficial anthem for Italia 90, the World Cup in Italy, I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. I mean, Get the Girl, Kill the Baddies. What a silly premise for a song, but it sounds brilliant. So lots and lots of dance, which is the direction the Poppies went in. Now there was also a slew of bands who got shunted into this genre or shunted into this group of bands by the music press. And another one of those was the Wonder Stuff. Now the Wonder Stuff came from Stourbridge, same town as the Poppies. I think a couple of members, I think Miles Hunt and Malcolm Treese, who I think was a guitarist, was he the bass player? I can't remember. No, he was a guitarist. Actually played in a band with a couple of members of Pop Will Eat Itself very early on. But in 1987, they released a single Unbearable, which I didn't know about at the time. I only picked up on the Wonder Stuff with the second single, which was Give, Give, Give Me More, 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 which I was going out with somebody at the time, and I remember going down to the record shop, actually in Redditch, I think it was. Was it in Redditch? I think it was. It was a record shop in Redditch. We were visiting a mate from university, and she bought Give, Give, Give Me More, 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 and we played it loads, and loved the Wonder Stuff. I thought they were brilliant. More really sarky kind of humour to them, which came out in a lot of their songs. So this is their 3rd single, maybe 3rd, A Wish Away, which is a terrific song, with B-side Jealousy. Kind of, I think they're kind of reminiscent slightly of Poppy sleeves, kind of that typeface. I mean, you've got this kind of typewriter typeface, which I think the Poppies used on some of their stuff, especially Love Missile EP. Terrific, more typical indie fare, lots of guitars, very poppy. I mean, they hit the top 40 loads. Typical. Here's their sense of humour coming out. We've got the It's Your Money I'm After Baby EP, which has also got the song Astley in the Noose, which was a scathing attack on Rick Astley and Pete Waterman, well, PWL pop in general, which in 1988 I was dead into. Knocking, rather. Add that there. I wasn't dead into Stockakin and Waterman. I was dead into knocking them because I thought they were pants. Yeah. Wonder Stuff logo. So yeah, it's kind of, this played into my general love of indie, so I love this. Again, another single off around the first album, Who Wants to Be the Disco King, with a live version of Unbearable on the B-side. I love that, I mean, I think for a lot of this kind of Grebo, this kind of indie, it's frenetic is the appropriate word, I think. Sort of a lot of bustle guitars, great stuff, and lots of great memories. I mean, 7-inch single with an inner sleeve. Not many bands that do that. Is over and over and over and over. The radio's on, but I don't hear a song. Absurd is the word to describe it, although my head's in a spin from the state we were in. It just about sums up what they thought about pop music. I remember Miles Hunt was a bit of an arrogant guy, really. But in 1988, they released their debut album. And this is a classic indie record, really. Hold on, I'll put that there. Classic indie record, The Eight-Legged Groove Machine. Chock full of top pop tunes. The Animal, Redbury Joytown, Over the 13th Time, It's Your Money I'm After Baby, Give Me More, Wish Away's on here, Unbearable's on here. I mean, it is a top-notch debut album, and I rate this album as a really good debut album. They went kind of, after this, I don't know what, they changed their sound a bit. They sort of went away from the absolute indie, well, not indie anthems, but that kind of 80s indie sound, and they started, I don't know, I think they started doing stuff, started adding folk. The lineup changed. The bass thing, who was the bass player on Eight-Legged Groove Machine, died, or he left. No, he left the band because of musical differences. There was a track on here called The Animals and Me, which is the last track on side 1. And he hated it so much, his vinyl copy, he actually scraped the, gouged out that copy on his vinyl copy so that it wouldn't play. So he didn't have to listen to it, which is a bit extreme. So I'm not surprised he left. They brought in a couple, I think they brought in a fiddle player and another bass player, and they changed their sound for their second album called Hot. Which I kind of like. They went a bit more folky, a bit slowed down. I kind of like their poppy, buzzy, speedy side to them, really. I mean, I do love this song, Size of a Cow. Which is basically a Madness song, really, complete with plinky plonky pianos. And Welcome to the Cheap Seats, got to be careful there, was another great one. These are both off their third album, Never Loved Elvis, which I've got on tape. I've got a tape copy of. But for me, they kind of lost it a bit. They weren't as good as they were. And and they kind of fizzled out. But not before they hit #1 with this song, which is a cover of Dizzy by Tommy Rowe, which they covered with the help of Vic Reeves, who's a British comedian for you American viewers out there. Beloved of students in Britain around the early 90s. So to see the Wonder Stuff at #1, even if it was with a cover, was fantastic. Just to see one of those bands at #1 replacing like Jason Donovan and all the rest of the tat that was around. Yes. Now, in the wake of the Poppies and the Stuffies came a third Stourbridge band. And that was Ned's Atomic Dustbin, named after an episode of The Goon Show, which had Peter Sellers and Spike Milligan in it. This upped the ante a bit. This was 2 bass players for a start, so the rhythms were ultra fast most of the time. There wasn't any room for ballads or slow songs. It was live music for basically to mosh to. Not really heavy. It was definitely indie, but just really hyper fast indie. So this is their debut single, the Ingredients EP, and this had things on it like Plug Me In, Grey Cell Green, Terminally Groovy, and it name check actually on. I'm just reading the thanks on here, and it name checks the Stuffies, the Poppies, and another band that I'll talk about in a minute, Mega City 4. So this was released on Chapter 22 in 1990. So I think that's a really good picture, actually, visual representation, kind of that representation of their sound. Yeah. So it's definitely a new thing. It's like 1990s. It's not, none of these bands, they were kind of like an antidote to all the baggy stuff. You had the baggy stuff coming out of Manchester, which I've talked about before. But then you've got this well, what is now called Grebo, but wasn't before. Really high speed, almost a complete antithesis of baggy, which is all about shuffling, slowed down, grooving. This is mosh music. This is jumping up and down music. And I don't have a vinyl copy of their next single, which was Kill Your Television, which was an absolute indie anthem around the early 90s. You couldn't go anywhere without hearing that, which got released on their debut album, which is Godfather. Yeah, Kill Your Television, mosh-tastic. I went to see them and they were brilliant live. Things like Happy, Cut Up, Throwing Things, Grey Cell Green is on here, Less Than Useful. So brilliant indie stuff. And what was remarkable about all of these bands that I'm talking about is they were way more successful commercially than the original wave of Grebo. So the Poppies regularly got in the top 40 after, now Defcon 1 didn't, Can You Dig It scraped the top 40, Wise Up Sucker just outside, but after that they regularly got in the top 40 and by Get the Girl, Kill the Baddies, I think that was a top 10 single, I think. Wonder Stuff hit #1, Size of the Cow was top 5. Most of their singles like Disco King and stuff hit the top 40. Regularly getting in the charts. Ned's Atomic Dustbin were having top 20 singles. So here we got a couple more. We got the Until You Find Out 12-inch, which is more of the same. On Chapter 22 Records. Is it Chapter 22? This one, Chapter 22. I think it is. B-side. Yeah, Chapter 22. Until You Find Out. That belongs in that way. Another one, Trust. I mean, it shows you what their musical outlook here, because Dan the Fast Drumming Man is. Here's a total credit. It's got Dan the Fast Drumming Man, Matt plays one bass, Alex the other, Rat does guitar, and John sings. All I know is we've lost control. There you go. This one was released in '91, so I think this is a single only release. So this is Trust with Faceless and Titch on the B side. I do like the Poppy. I love the. One thing also that changed. This reminds me actually. One thing that also changed. I love the colourfulness of the Ned's singles covers. In fact, they're all really. I mean, Godfather is. I mean, yeah, it's certainly like the colour, but this was because of the way they dressed. I think. What was different between the original Grebo bands and this lot? The originals were kind of more had more of a biker chic, so they were all leather jackets, tight black jeans, big like sort of winkle picker boots or biker boots. But the second wave looked completely different, much more colourful. So baggy shorts, big t-shirts, lots of band t-shirts. I think most of the bands made more money. I think there's a story about Ned's made more money from their t-shirts than from their records, I think. I mean, I think, was it Ned's had at least 50 different t-shirts for sale at one point? Was it Ned's? It was one of those bands anyway. Yeah, lots of like Doc Martens, lots of them, lots of dreads. Kind of more like a cross between skate punk and crusty, for those of you who were around in the early 90s in the UK. That kind of aesthetic, I guess. So that wraps up the first part of my look at the second wave of Grebo, as I have termed it. Nobody else ever has. I hope you enjoyed this look at those three bands from Stourbridge, the Stourbridge Mafia, and I hope you will join me on my look through a second batch of bands that were kind of affiliated with Grebo. Maybe not as tightly knit as the other bands, but they have been lumped in retrospectively. So, thanks everybody for watching, if you got this far, and I hope I'll see you all again soon. Cheers everybody. Bye.